the thyroid gland. And when you're looking at the thyroid gland, you want to make sure, first off, you can identify the follicles. So each one of these structures is a follicle. These semicircular, there's different sizes. You got some small ones, some medium-sized ones, and you got these big ones up here and up there. So there's different sizes. There's no specific size or arrangement of these. Around the follicles, you're going to have a single layer of simple cuboidal tissue. Those are your follicle cells. Now, let me go up to high power and we can take a closer look at these. So when you're looking at the follicle itself, right around the outside of each follicle, you have the follicle cells. Okay, and let's remember what we just talked about with the function of the follicle cells as far as thyroglobulin production. So this purple stuff inside of the follicle, in the lumen of the follicle, this is all your thyroglobulin. Okay, so you got thyroglobulin here, which you should be able to identify. And then make sure you understand the mechanism of how thyroid hormone is produced and how it's secreted as well. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to look for on the thyroid gland. The next thing you're going to be looking for will be the parafollicular cells, parafollicle cells. And kind of where you're going to be looking for these is, here's a follicle, there's a follicle, here's a follicle. In between the follicles, you'll have these somewhat larger and kind of flattened out cells every now and then, kind of mixed in here in the spaces. Probably if there's another one. There's a couple over here. Those are your parafollicle cells. Here's a good one right here. So they're not nice and round and nice little square cells. They're more elongated and flattened out. Those are your parafollicle cells. And so those parafollicular cells are going to produce what?
Calcitonin.
Calcitonin. Okay, and so you should know the function of those cells and what they produce and what their purpose is. Also on this same slide, you're going to scroll around and you're going to find a chunk of tissue that looks like this. This is your parathyroid gland. Okay, and so you should be able to identify the parathyroid gland. It produces parathyroid hormone and its functional role as far as regulating calcium levels. Now typically when I show this to you, I'll kind of show it a little bit like this. So you'll be able to see a little piece of the thyroid, and then there's the parathyroid. Because if I just showed you this, that looks very similar to your anterior pituitary. Okay, so you kind of compare the two, and they look very similar. So I'll give you a little bit of the thyroid on there. So I'll point down here, then you'll see a little piece of the thyroid as well. So you should be able to differentiate between those. At the same time, when you do with pituitary, you'll be able to see both anterior and pituitary on the same slide or same section as well. So you can use that to differentiate. But make sure you know the function. Okay, so the thyroid structure, cells, functions, and the parathyroid as well.